This is Turkey. For a long time, Turkey has historically been a crossroads of various cultures and dynasties. It spans across Europe and Asia, with most of its territory located on the Anatolian Peninsula, bordered by the Black Sea to the north, the Mediterranean to the south, and the Aegean Sea to the west. All the regions just mentioned belong to the Asian continent. This area was formerly known as Asia Minor. The European part of Turkey lies on the Thrace Peninsula. This region borders the Balkan Peninsula, separated by the Bosphorus Strait, the Sea of Marmara, and the Dardanelles Strait. Near the Gallipoli Peninsula, further south, you re-enter the Asian continent. Thrace accounts for only 3% of Turkey's total land area, and only 10% of the population lives here. Turkey is divided into 81 provinces. The capital is which is also the second largest city in the country. Located on the Anatolian Peninsula, but Turkey's largest city is Istanbul. This city spans both the European and Asian continents, divided by the Bosphorus Strait, formerly known as Byzantium and Constantinople. It was not renamed Istanbul until 1928. The Haydarpaşa terminal in Istanbul is Turkey's busiest port, and Istanbul International Airport is the busiest airport in the country. If you flew to Turkey before 2019, you likely landed at Atatürk International Airport. It has now been converted into a cargo airport. On Turkey's northwest coast, you will see many islands. But strangely, almost all of these islands belong to Greece. There are only two exceptions. This ownership stems from the Treaty of Athens in 1913. Greece holds sovereignty over the Aegean waters, which eventually sparked disputes over maritime borders and shipping lanes, affecting Turkey's access to the sea from its western coast. Nevertheless, Turkish citizens can travel to these islands freely as if there were no conflict. Additionally, there is a disputed region between Turkey and Syria, Hatay province. It was the last province to join the Republic of Turkey. Annexed in 1939, to this day, Syria still includes Hatay on its own maps. Istanbul was once the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire. It wasn't until the 11th century that the first Turks settled in what is now Turkey. They were the ones who founded the Seljuk Empire. In the 14th century, Osman I founded the Ottoman Empire in Bursa province. This dynasty lasted for about 600 years, eventually joining World War I and facing collapse. After the Treaty of Sevres in Aegean, the empire's territory was divided. Anatolia was partitioned by the Allied powers. Following the Ottoman collapse, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk stood against these terms, seeking to reclaim the lands of the Anatolian Peninsula. He led the revolution, launched the Turkish War of Independence, and successfully established the Republic of Turkey. Atatürk was elected the first president of Turkey, pushing the country toward modernization, industrialization, and secularism. Even though most citizens held onto Islamic values, Turkey became the first Muslim-majority nation to enshrine secularism in its constitution. Returning to the 20th century, the transition from the Ottoman Empire to a republic was filled with turmoil, armed conflicts, and bloodshed. Turkey joined NATO in 1952. In 1974, it invaded Cyprus in retaliation for a coup backed by Greece. Furthermore, Turkey has long been on the list of candidates for the EU. Political issues aside, Turkey possesses vast tourism resources, 19 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and approximately 300 ancient ruins. The most famous is the legendary site of ancient Troy, often adapted into Hollywood blockbusters. Turkey has many ancient castles, such as those in Zugma and Mar. One of Turkey's most distinctive traditions is the Turkish bath, a type of steam bath found nationwide. Turkey is located at the meeting point of the African, Eurasian, and Arabian tectonic plates. These three plates meet at the northern and eastern Anatolian fault lines. This convergence formed the Anatolian. It rotates counterclockwise. The Arabian plate pushes upward, and the African plate subducts below the Cyprus arc. This makes Turkey highly prone to earthquakes and geothermal activity. Although most volcanoes in Turkey are extinct, about 80% of the land near this fault zone is mountainous. There are three main mountain ranges: the Pontic Mountains in the north, the Taurus Mountains in the south, and the Araz Mountains in the east. Mount Ararat is the highest peak in Turkey. It is also the source of the Kızılırmak River, which flows into the Black Sea, belonging to the same system as the Euphrates and the Tigris. The climate varies across Turkey. The Black Sea coast is the most fertile, heavily forested, and receives the most rain. Thrace and the Marmara region are flat, while Aegean and Mediterranean coasts have Mediterranean climates. The Anatolian Plateau is Turkey's largest wheat-producing region. The south, near Syria and Iraq, is much drier. The Far East has the highest mountains and a much colder climate. For instance, Erzurum is the coldest city in Turkey. In terms of economy, the World Bank considers Turkey an emerging market. It is a founding member of the OECD. Major Turkish corporations include Koç Holding, Tupra, and Tup. Second only to Dubai, Turkey is also a medical tourism destination, especially famous for plastic reconstructive surgery. Turkey is also a major mineral exporter, producing boron, bentonite, and more. Agriculturally, it is known for fruits like apricots. However, mass production has led to land subsidence issues. Over-extraction of groundwater for agriculture has caused numerous sinkholes. Konya province, for example, has over 300 sinkholes. Turkey was once home to the Asiatic lion and the Caspian tiger. Turkish Airlines ranks second globally for the number of international destinations. Later, these two species went completely extinct in Turkey. Turkey is also a country full of cats. Istanbul alone has over 200,000 stray cats. They live in harmony with the locals. Turkish people generally adore furry pets. There is a famous cat statue in Istanbul, built to commemorate a beloved chubby cat named Tombil. He passed away in 2016. Despite their love for cats, the national animal of Turkey is not the cat, but the wool. Turkey's population is about 85 million. It is one of the top refugee hosting nations. Turkey has no reliable ethnic statistics. The identity of Turkish refers to all registered citizens of Turkey, regardless of ethnic background. Sociologists estimate ethnic Turks at 70% to 80%, while Kurds account for 12% to 20%. The rest are Arabs, Armenians, Greeks, Bosnians, and Romani people. The official language is Turkish. Since 1928, it has used the Latin alphabet. Ancestors once used Old U and Orcan scripts. Kurds are mainly concentrated in the southern provinces bordering Iraq and Syria, using the distinct Kurdish language, which is very different from Turkish. Kurds in Turkey are the largest group among the four main Kurdish regions in the Middle East. During the transition to the Republic, there were many rebellions. Armenians were also involved in conflicts. Since then, Armenia has demanded that Turkey recognize these events as genocide. The Turkish government only acknowledges the tragedy in a limited scope. Despite dark histories with Armenians, Greeks, and Kurds, Turkish people still maintain good relations with them. Turkey is the world's largest refugee-hosting nation, with about 4 million refugees, 65% of whom are from Syria. Although the Constitution defines it as a secular state, statistics show that the vast majority of Turks follow Islam, with 75% being Sunni. Before the Ottoman Empire, Turkey was a Christian region. Many cities visited by Paul in the New Testament are located in modern-day Turkey. Istanbul, now renamed, was the seat of the ecumenical patriarch. Outsiders often mistake Turks for Arabs, as the Arab style is often associated with Islam. But Turks are very different from those in Arab Muslim countries. Turkey has many traditional sports. Since joining the Olympics in 1908, Turkey has won numerous medals. Wrestling is a strong suit, earning 20 gold medals at the Tokyo Olympics. The Turkish women's volleyball team has won multiple European championships. The entertainment industry is also famous. Brazilians, for instance, love Turkish dramas. Geography greatly impacts human development, but history is often shaped by opportunity rather than environment. Reality is simply where opportunity meets environment.